Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video. I'm Brendan Lee and today I'm going to be taking you through the story and the steps that I took to become an F1 Esports driver and F1 Esports World Champion in 2017. I also want to give a quick thank you and a quick shout out to Lucas Blakely because he did a very similar video on his channel recently, and that is the inspiration for this video for me today. So yes, credit to Lucas where credit is due, because he did a great driver, a great person as well. With that being said, I will be getting straight into the core basis of where my competitive nature started over in motocross as a kid. As a 4-year-old, I was already obsessed with the nature of driving lap times as fast as possible. I was riding and playing with my motocross bike, my BMX bikes as much as possible to improve my lap times and to just go as fast as possible. And if someone overtook me on a practice track, I would make sure to overtake them, and I used to try and push as hard as possible to overtake as many people as well, because if I overtook people, it meant I was going fast, and I quite like that fact. So that's really in a summary of where I got my competitive nature from directly as a child. The competitive basis of how I got an instinct for racing as a child. Let's wind the clock all the way forward into about 2010, 2014 time. And I got invested and I started watching Formula One in 2008. 2010, the Formula One game got released and I was hooked straight away. And I loved driving it around in circles because I was just, again, as a kid, I was obsessed with lap times, obsessed with going faster. And all of a sudden, I had this video game of a sport that I was falling in love with, and the ability just to watch and play and improve, drive as Lewis Hamilton, drive as a team, drive as a car, drive as a car, but you know what I mean. Drive as the car that that team represented. I was as hooked. I remember coming home from school or on weekends or whatever I was doing. I would be driving 100% races just to see if I could shave 2 seconds off. I was racing against AI, and the AI were 1 or 2 laps down because they weren't that competitive on that year's game, maybe. But I was driving for 2 hours just to see if I could improve by 2 seconds over that 2 hours or whatever it was. I was just obsessed by that nature of improving, and that nature of improving really found its stride in 2014, and that's why it was such a significant date in my mind, is because this is when I got invested to what we call league racing, and league racing effectively is like the real life equivalent of F3, and this is really where the drivers are gritting their teeth and really getting known in the community and improving as much and much as possible. I would say the F1 Esports Pro Draft is the equivalent of F2, and of course the F1 Esports Series is the equivalent of F1. So going around in league racing from 2014 until 2017, I was just improving as much as possible, waiting for the opportunity that I truly believed would come. I didn't know how it would come, but I truly believed that there would be an opportunity to make my passion, and that was racing cars in circles virtually, into a job or into an opportunity. And I knew esports was growing. And in 2017, I remember the date really well. It was August of 2017, 21st of August, if I am correct as well, that F1 Esports got announced. And I can remember exactly where I was at that moment in time. And I was training and working as a chef in a little town called Pangbourne, near where I was actually living, only 5 minutes away from where I was living, and that's where I was working as a chef. And I remember I was in the changing area directly, and I looked down at my phone and I saw a tweet from Formula One, and I just remember I had to take this opportunity. I had to make the most of this opportunity, at least sign up for this. And I just felt this wave of emotion coming over my body because everything that I was preparing for, everything that I was working towards is now an opportunity. And I was like, I've got to grab this with both hands. So as soon as I got home that night, I started training and training and training and went through the qualification phase to get ready to go into the semi-final that was hosted in London. I was able to qualify and get into the semi-final, of course, and that whittled down, I think, like, if I remember the numbers correctly, it was like 55,000 people or something like this, into 40 people. 40 of the best people on the F1 2017 game here in London at the Gfinity Studios. And really, this was such a surreal moment. Arriving there, I got picked up by a taxi. Formula One sent a taxi to where I was living, and they took me all the way into central London. And I was just sat there. I remember driving there in the back of the taxi, and arriving there, meeting all these people that I've seen online and got to know so well online. And it was just such a mind-blowing moment for me of being this person who started league racing, started getting faster and faster and faster to all of a sudden be in London representing Formula One. Formula One giving us these goodie bags with a t-shirt with official merchandise. And it was like, wow, okay, this is like a dream come true for me. But I also knew I had a job to do, and that job to do was in the semi-final. The 40 drivers would have to do a qualifying session, and then it would be split down into 10 people for 4 heats. So I remember going into the next day. And I remember this day really well because this was the day of the semi final. This was the day of the racing. And the thing what wasn't so good in that time was I slept about 3 hours on the night before because I was so nervous. I'm not even going to hide it. I'm not even ashamed of it. I was so nervous the night before because I knew the opportunity presenting itself, that I slept about 3 hours. And I remember I was having energy drinks all day long. I wouldn't recommend it in no way, but to tell the story in full detail, I was having energy drinks all day long, because that's basically the only thing that could give me any sense of like awareness, any sense of precision, any sense of energy. In fact, hence the energy drink name. Um, to go and go race. And I remember I was so nervous before the qualifying session. I was literally shaking on the pedals, and it was such a surreal moment because I've never experienced that much pressure in my life. And one of the most proudest moments in my whole life was when I was in that qualifying session. I went and put it on pole position. Out of all 40 people, I put it on pole. And I was like, wow, wow, this was like the first time I truly started to believe maybe I'm good at this. Like, I had good success in league racing, but when the time was there, the pressure was on, the cameras were on, in fact, quite literally, that I went and put it on pole position. I was like, wow, okay, maybe I can start doing this. And then I went to the first race and I won the first race at Brazil. And I was like, oh my God, now I have a real chance to go to Abu Dhabi. I have a real chance to make the grand finale. And all I had to do was not mess up the Silverstone race. And I went to the Silverstone race and I was able to win that again. I was like, oh my God, wow, okay, wow. Like, I just couldn't believe what was happening. And I left there with such a buzz. But I also left there knowing that I had a task at hand to be ready for the grand finale. What I didn't tell you earlier was I went to the semi final with a mentality. If I did well and if I got to the grand finale, I would quit my job as a chef and spend the next month fully prepared, fully focusing on the job at hand to be as prepared as possible for the grand finale. So, went home, phoned my boss, explained the situation, and then quit my job. No income, no security, all cards on the deck, all cards on hand, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. Basically, my only option now was to perform and win the grand finale because quitting your job and putting full eggs in the basket is the saying I was looking for. But all my eggs in the basket of winning this grand finale was the only option that I had to justify leaving my job to everyone around me. Um, so I knew that I had to win. So I spent the next month barely not even going outside. I didn't spend my time going outside. I spent all of my time training. I probably went outside like a handful of times in this next month. Again, I wouldn't condone this level of anti-socialism. I wouldn't condone this behavior really. I wouldn't advise it anyway. Condone is the wrong word. I wouldn't advise this behavior. It definitely wasn't healthy, but it was necessary for me to get through at this time. Um, and then going to the grand finale, and oh my God, I've never felt so much pressure in my life. And like, okay, a lot of people know what happened in the races already, but behind the scenes of the races and stuff that I'm going to tell you about because the results are already public. Um, But being behind the scenes in the races, before going to the qualifying sessions, before going to the races, I was so nervous. I had nausea in my body. I was feeling so sick. Just from the pressure. There was nothing wrong with me. I had good energy levels. I was focused. But being sat there in the rig before the qualifying sessions, the racing sessions, I've never felt anything like that. Just to be this boy from Reading. Reading was where I'm from, and then thrown into this environment in Abu Dhabi. It was my first ever time outside of the UK as well. I didn't even have a passport before this competition. So literally, it was completely new to me being outside of the UK, now in Abu Dhabi, in the opposite side of the world, effectively, and I had to perform. And because I want to keep this video quite short and sweet relatively, I don't feel a need to go into every single result that happened in the qualifying and the race sessions, just purely because it will take forever and those results are already public. If people want me to do another video and go into detail about each little race and every single result, I'm more than happy to do so. But the purpose of this video is to talk about the story on how I started and how I built myself into the position to be in F1 esports and tell the little nuanced details of it as well. So the first race I was able to win in Canada. The second race, if I remember correctly, was in Spa, and I think I finished like 7th or 8th. But long story short of it, going into the grand finale, we were all separated by 1 point. The top three drivers, me, Sven, and Fabrizio, were all separated by 1 point, and it was literally a case of who wins the race wins the championship. And starting the race had so much pressure. My foot was like flickering like this on the pedal, and it was just an immense emotion looking back. Although it wasn't too much fun at the time, I was having fun, I was enjoying myself, but the pressure was such immensity that having fun in that moment maybe wasn't always that possible. But looking back, some of the best memories I've ever possessed in my life. And of course, we know the result of the championship. I was able to fortunately win the championship and bring home my first world championship. And the feelings after the race were just wow. And I think it's really misunderstood after the race finished, because I finished the race with this not happy, like, wow, I just won the champion. Yeah, yeah. I didn't finish with that. I finished the race with like maybe quite a negative tone because I just didn't believe that I won the championship. I couldn't believe it. Like, from where I started and now I'm here, I couldn't put it and fathom it into my mind at that very moment in time. And it was only once they officially called my name to and gave me that trophy, I started to believe it. And to tell some story, the story that I don't think I've told that much publicly anyway before this, um, was, and what I mean by when I started was, I came from a background that was very dark, was a very not positive background. I grew up with an abusive father to the point in 2007 he even tried to set the house on fire, knowing that me, my mum, and my sister was inside. I had a father who would smash doors, would break windows, would be drunk, more memories than not. Police being called, more often than not. And yeah, I don't need to go into full details about the exact things that happened and the exact memories with him right now. Um, but I started with a very dark childhood. I started with this very dark place, and yeah, like I say, I started with these dark places, this not ideal situation to start in life, and to end up as F1 Esports World Champion in its first year filled me with so much pride and joy and sense of worth, I think is the word that I look for. Because it was the first time in my life that I sort of looked around and went, yeah, do you know what? I deserve this. I deserve this. I deserve to be here. And yeah, it's something that I always push for. If you follow my social medias, you know that I always try my best to spread positivity, to always look for a good, even in a situation that doesn't have that much good. Find the good in the bad, find the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And that's where it comes from, is I truly, truly deep down believe that if you do not give up, if you continue to fight for what you believe in, it has to be important what you believe in, you will find the result that you're looking for. You might not win every race, you might not win every championship, you might not win at all, you might not get that gold medal, but the feeling that you'll get if you just don't ever give up, if you refuse to give up in whatever you're doing in life, you'll find satisfaction. And that's the lesson that I've learned in my life so far, is no matter the background that you come from, no matter the people that influence you as a child, you don't have to be that person. You don't need to associate yourself with their responsibilities. You are your own person. You are your own responsibility, and you have your own responsibility to live your own best life, however that looks for you. So that's what I'm going to leave this video on today, is remember to be yourself, remember to find your purpose in life, and only find your purpose in life. And I reiterate that point because it's very important. Don't live someone else's dream, live your dream. If you have a dream, make it happen. Work harder than anybody else can ever imagine in life, and I'm certain that dream will become a reality for you. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for listening to my story. For people that also have not had the best childhood, or are not happy or struggling generally mentally or whatever it might be, contact me on Instagram especially, and I can always help to reply and give you my best advice in life, or try to be there to support you as well. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I've been Brendan Lee, and I'll catch you in the next video. For now, ciao ciao, bye bye.